Okay. If you're planning to come to Canada as a student or you're already here, this conversation might save you years of stress and expensive mistakes because both of us came as international students to Canada and learned some lessons, sometimes the hard way, sometimes the easy way. So we believe that this conversation provides the easy way out, especially for prospective students. So welcome to this channel. And today's episode is really, really important for two reasons. One, it is the very first one. And then two, I'm hosting a very good friend of mine, Afees, with a wealth of knowledge on just studying abroad, applying for scholarships, transitioning to work. So today we're going to talk about, some of the things that we wish we knew before coming to Canada. So I'll pass it over to you, Afees. Just introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And just let's get to know you.
Thank you so much, Juma. It's actually a great pleasure for me to be on this platform and to actually be the first guest that you are hosting on this very important channel. And I believe that anybody that has the opportunity of coming across this piece and so many other ones you will do in future are going to derive value for their time that they will be spending and the data they are going to be using to watch the video. So my name is Afees Akinola Agboola. I am originally from Nigeria. I currently live in Edmonton, Canada, and I currently work as a policy advisor with the government of Alberta. So it's a pleasure to be here today.
That's nice. So, Afees, you studied in Canada at McGill University, and now you're working with the government of Alberta. I believe that's an inspiration for some of us who, are just planning to leave everything behind and come and start afresh. So I just want you to share, how was that journey like? Abandoning everything, first of all, the process, and then coming to Canada, transitioning from school to work. But how was that journey from Nigeria to Canada?
Yeah, thank you so much. It's actually a very long journey, but I will spare some details so that I don't bore you with a long story. But I will make sure at least I touch on some of the important elements so that at least some people might be in the same boat. They can be able to know how to actually navigate the waves of the journey. Let me start by saying in 2016 when I was completing my National Youth Service, which we call NYS in Nigeria. For those that might not understand what that stands for, NYS in Nigeria is after your schooling, your first degree, you are going to serve the nation for 1 year. So when I was finishing my study, my younger brother then was able to secure a scholarship to study outside the country. It was at that point, even though I've always heard of the word scholarship, people going abroad to study. The realization that people of the poor or children of the poor like us could actually benefit from such opportunity never came until my brother won it. So it was then it dawned on me. I was like, okay. So does that mean it is possible for people like us to also do this thing? So when I was finishing my program, my service there, and I made a promise to myself that once I finished my service, the first thing I was going to do was from the savings I was able to gather during service, the first thing I was going to do was to get my passport, my international passport, because I realized that even if were successful in scholarship, whatever, if you don't have that, you cannot go anywhere. So, and that was the first thing I did. So from 2016, I started applying for several programs, Mastercard, Sydney, Erasmus, all of them, name them, but I never got anything. So I'm going to spare you all those details and jump to when it eventually happened in 2021, right? So if you can just do a quick calculation, you will notice that means it took me about 5 years of being in that process of applying, getting rejection, applying again, getting rejection until 2021 when I was selected as one of the Mastercard scholars to study at McGill. So that was the journey. Then in 2021, when I got it, we started, obviously applying for study permit and started started getting ready to actually go in itself and come to Canada to study. So that is a brief of the whole journey. It is much more deeper than that, but I don't want to much of your time.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned a few things that are really important. One is that, you kept getting rejections. Many people would just give up or look for other options or carry on with their life. But I'm curious to know what just kept you going and just persisting and not give up. And
Okay.
then finally the result.
Yeah, thank you so much. So personally, I'm someone that once I make a resolve about something, I take my time before I actually decide to do something. Right? I do a lot of research, thinking, brainstorming. But the moment I say this is what I want to do, it's very hard for me to back down. I hardly back down. So from the word go, from the time I decided, okay, this is a journey I was going to go through, I already had that determination that whatever stone, whatever debt, whatever rubbish was thrown at me during on that journey, I was not going to back down. So the second thing that actually kept me going was that when I was finishing my program, like what I said, when I realized that okay, people like us can also get scholarship, then I made a second resolve. I said I was going to do my masters, but I would never do it in Nigeria. Right? So
Hmm.
those two things, because I was already determined from the beginning, and I knew that this is what I wanted and this is the way I was going to go about it. I kept on going. Now, but one important thing I have to say that is that even though I kept on going, one important thing I did, which I want everybody to actually take note of, was that I kept on learning and refining things. I kept on reinventing the wheel.
Hmm.
I kept on looking for better ways to write my essays, better ways to put in my applications, better way to build my professional profile, right? Better way to actually stand as a competent applicant when reviewers were reviewing my application and all that. So I kept on volunteering for organizations, involving myself in community development, community service, a lot of things. So it wasn't that the 5 years I was waiting, I was not doing anything. I kept on improving myself. Why I stayed on that resolve that I was going to get it. So those are the things that kept me going.
And I mean, yeah, so that's good to know, and it's a good advice for people who maybe have been applying, and probably not heading anywhere. Don't give up. I think that's the message I'm getting from that. Just so you have applied so many times, never gave up. Finally, you get this scholarship, which is prestigious, right? The Mastercard Foundation scholarship. And now you're preparing to go to Canada. So what did you think life will be in Canada and versus the reality?
So thank you so much for that beautiful question. I think I'm going to approach it in two ways. The first is that I try as much as possible to limit, or should I say, to control my expectation. Right?
Hmm.
Somebody that always, let's say I'm just lucky to be able to manage my emotions.
Yeah.
Right? I knew that I was going to be going for like you mentioned, a prestigious opportunity and in one of the foremost universities in the world, so to say. So I knew that those things are there, but nonetheless, you still have to be able to manage your expectation and be in charge of your emotions. So with that mindset, I already knew that whatever is going to happen, whatever thing I was going to face in the new country I was ready to actually fit in and manage whatever shock I was getting. I think the second thing I was going to say was that I'm someone I do a lot of research
Hmm.
and I try to know a lot of things about the next thing I want to do or the next place I am going. Right? Let me give you a very quick example, which is probably more like a digression. When I gained my admission to study my program for the undergraduate study that I did in Nigeria, I already knew the course I was going through, and I knew that in that program you are going to do apart from main course, main program you are admitted for, you will have to minor in another, right? So I did,
Mm-hmm.
and I found out that because I loved English a lot, I was an English teacher before I get that admission. So I made an inquiry and I decided that when I get to that school, I was going to minor in English, right?
Yeah.
But somebody told me, and a couple of information I got was that that department where I was going,
Mm-hmm.
very difficult department.
Mm-hmm.
And most people that go there don't really do well. So what did I do? I asked one of my friends in the neighborhood that was in that school. I had not even gone to that school. I asked the guy to help me get all the materials in that program from first year till the final year, and the guy got them for me. So what I did was I read everything, even before I started the program. Yes. So when I got to the school and I met my level advisor, we call them level advisor, like a lecturer that will advise you on where to go, what to do, and blah blah blah. And she asked me which department you want to minor, and I said English. The first thing she did was to look up, and she said, "Are you crazy?" No, I'm not. That's what I where I want. She said, "Do you know that department?" I said, "Yes, of course I know. I've done my research." Yeah, she convinced me, but I said no, and I went there, and I was able to do well because I was already prepared. So the same thing I did when I was coming to Canada. I already
Mm-hmm.
said about the community, about the environment, about the school. And so I knew things I was probably going to face, right? And how to cope with them. But the one that actually shocked me among all of them was the code, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I knew about it, but it shocked me a little bit. So maybe when we get to that, I can tell you one funny experience I had with that. So yeah, that was it.
All right. So, is there anything that you wish someone would have told you before you left your country about either the program, Canada, anything that someone else can benefit from?
Yeah. So I think maybe if I can think of anything, it would be about the weather. You know, coming from Nigeria, I don't know if you had the same experience when you were in Kenya. I don't think of any time I'd ever had to look at the weather app before I left my house in the morning while I was in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of any time it actually happened. Right? But
Yeah.
it's, let me say probably the most important thing you need to be doing when you move to Canada. In fact, as you are going to bed, you check your app to see, okay, what is the weather going to be like tomorrow? And
Mm-hmm.
waking up, even before you do your prayer, the first thing you are looking at is, okay, is it minus 15 today or minus 20 or whatever? So I think that I would have wished that somebody actually sat me down and told me all the details about that. So I'm sure you probably remember when we were about to start our program, I remember it was in September, and the foundation team wanted us to come and take our professional pictures or what do they call it, our bio data, something like that, that
Yeah.
morning. And I was living with one of our good friends then, Ebenezer. Then we woke up, we were just wearing our shirts, and we said, oh,
Mm-hmm.
let's go and take our picture quickly before we prepare for class. And we checked the weather actually, but we underestimated the coldness. They will say, oh, let's go quickly. You know where we are living. Hutchinson was not that far from where the team was located then.
Yeah.
They left the house and started working. I'm not sure we've worked like 1 minute. The two of us started asking each other, are you sure we've taken the day? No, it's not far. It's just there. Let's go. I can tell you that before we got to the front of the school gate, that one on, I believe, Sherbrooke, we were
Mm-hmm.
prison. And we had to run down to the office so that we could take that picture. And when we were going back, nobody told us not to even work. We ran. Um, if you are moving to Canada, for instance, or another country, because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people that are outside of Canada usually call us people that live in Canada. We are living in freezer, very cold, yes. You must be really prepared for it. Don't underestimate the weather. Always check your app to be sure that this is the weather and dress for it. Because here sometimes it can be crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You can see -5 when you are leaving the house, and in the next 5 minutes, it's turning to -10, -15. So sometimes it could happen like that. Not usually, but it's something that could happen. So always make sure that you keep yourself with adequate knowledge of always checking for the weather. And so I guess that is one thing I can share on that.
Yeah, I mean, it also depends with the
Okay,
province where someone would land.
exactly.
So I think Montreal had more snow, but not too cold like Alberta. Alberta has the snow and the cold. And then Montreal, they do their best to clean the roads as quickly as possible. I saw that in the US as well. But whereas
But that,
in Alberta, there's a bit of delays. But yes, I would say that's a good tip. And you don't need to buy those heavy winter jackets in Africa or wherever you are.
no,
You won't find a good one
at all.
that fit the cold here. So just wait until you get here and then buy a good winter jacket. Just one is good enough.
That thing I will add to what you just said is when you get here, don't order your winter gadget from China or anywhere. Buy in Canada. Some of our friends a mistake during our program, and they want
Mm,
it cost, and they got their things from China. Believe me, it didn't work. So they had to buy a sack because the weather in China is not the same as what you have in Canada. So buy
yeah,
Canada because
yeah.
the wares are made for Canadian weather.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. So something else just about the program and the school, just remind us which school you went to and then which program you did. And then like looking back right now, was it the right decision? How has it shaped your professional life moving forward? And what role did those choices play in terms of your professional trajectory now?
Yeah, thank you so much. So I went to McGill University in Montreal, which is located in Quebec, and I studied education and society. Right, I think those two choices of school and course will be one of the best decisions I've ever taken. Even though the choice of the school was not entirely left to me, it was associated with the scholarship, or let me say the scholarship was associated with the school. So either way you look at it, but I chose the program myself because I knew some of the elements within that program and how those elements were going to be key to my professional journey. Right? The best way I actually describe it, when some people ask me education and society, what does that mean? Because some people get confused. Education and society. What kind of a program is that? So best way I describe it to them is that when you think about international development, right, or education development, whatever the policy development, whatever
Hmm.
you are talking about, that is education and society. Why? Because we looked at so many development related theories, policies, discussion as they affect society.
Hmm.
Do that program, right? You can literally function in so many professional spaces. You want to know the key and the core competencies and skills that you needed in that program. So I would say the course was a blessing for me. How it has actually influenced my professional journey, just as I said, I always try as much as possible to focus on core competencies, skills, and things I needed from any program. That was why most of the courses I chose when I did that program, I was very intentional about those courses because I
Hmm.
knew what I wanted and I knew what my professional career would benefit from. And I structured all the courses I did around those core competencies I was looking for. Right. Um, when I start working, I would do a lot of research. So I made sure that I took courses on research development and all of that. I knew that my professional journey was going to be on looking at international policies, education policy, development, and all of that. And I chose programs that align with with those skills I needed. So that is how the program, the school, have actually influenced what I do currently. Finally, I think I can always be proud that I went to what people usually call the Harvard of Canada, which is actually one of the topmost, if not the number one university in Canada, but one of the topmost universities around the world. right? And I'm very proud to be associated with that school with so many other great people.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on that as well because people say that, in Canada, the school you go to doesn't matter. It's all about the course, your area of training, which is accurate. However, some schools, when they hear like McGill and you're competing with the other students from probably other schools, you stand at a higher chance already than probably other students. So they regard you highly and you are able to compete with the other students from a leg up position, if you know what I mean.
All those already have a higher pedigree and they are really known for excellence, right?
hmm Yeah, yeah. So, okay, so that's good. The other thing I wanted you to talk about is just the transition between school to work in Canada. So, let's say uh, you go to school and then you study for a certain number of months or years, and then suddenly you're done. So how was that transition for you? Were you able to work while studying, and then what happened after you finished school?
Yeah, thank you so much, Juma, for that question. I wasn't able to work during my studies because of the nature of the opportunity that we had, the scholarship.
hmm
But what I would say after school is that I will try as much as possible to be factual and be real with our people. If you have been reading up, you will have read that currently is when it gets to the work space, or let me say the job market, so
Yeah.
to speak, Canada is not a funny story. It's really, really hard to, I mean, people are having a lot of difficulties getting jobs in Canada currently, and I had my fair share as well. When I finished in 2023, it took me about 7 months before I was able to get a job, right? And that doesn't mean that is going to be the story of everybody, but reality that we have to see. Some
hmm
people got their jobs even before they finish school. Some people got after 1 month. Some people got after 2 months. It took me 7 months. And I know people that after a year, they were not able to get a job. So it varies. But on
hmm
general prevalence of what is going on in Canada, the job market is very, very, it's going through some challenges, right? So
hmm
what do you do if that happens to be your situation? I mean, God forbid, but if it does, then you have to, first of all, you have to be mentally prepared, right? Secondly, you have to make sure that you leverage on your network, reach
hmm
people, especially when it comes to um helping you to review your cover letter, your CV, your application packages. You need that support around you. Third thing is that you actually need emotional support from friends and family members, whether they are in Canada or outside of there.
Yeah.
Fourth thing is that you have to be able with your folks back that currently, yes, I've finished, but I've not gotten a job. So when people bring up financial requests, you have to be real. You don't need to actually fake it to make it. You don't need to live that fake life. You need let people know that you don't have the money. Even you are struggling and you are going through it. And that was exactly what I did. I told my family back home, this is a situation. And for the next couple of months, I'm living on my savings and I cannot do X, Y, and Z. And they all understood, right? So you have to be real with people. The other thing I'm going to say is that, which is still on leveraging on network,
hmm
people around you to actually revere you. It doesn't mean that you are going to get that job.
Yeah.
Referral goes a long way, right?
hmm
It might give you that opportunity for consideration for interviews, and
Yeah.
it led to you to dazzle the interviewer so that you can get the job. So some of these skills you need them if that happen to be the situation. Like I said, it is currently tough out there. And the last thing I'm going to say there is that while you are applying, if the opportunity get, if you can get some any job out there just to stay on your feet, I actually take it up. So those are some of the things, some of the realities that we are currently facing with, and how you can deal with some of them. So for me, it was challenging, and I did
Yeah.
almost most of what I just mentioned, and even some that I not mentioned to be able to cope stay on my feet. And at the end of the day, I was able to get the kind of a job I had always wanted.
Yeah.
And today we can say, yeah, I am happy for it. So
Yeah, like you said, everyone's journey is different. I know other people got jobs after 1 year. Some of them may have not, some got even before graduation. So it's really different. Matters is just being able to persist, connect with people. I know there are people who will probably be watching who are currently in Canada or in countries which are not their own and just trying to figure things out after school. So really important to leverage on your networks, like you said. And then that financial issue is one that we will tackle another time because that's a real issue among people who travel outside their countries.
absolutely.
Yeah, so that's, yeah, good advice. Just talking about financials, what do you think is an ideal figure or number that would enable someone to, come from their country to Canada to study and meet other basic needs? In other words, what type of financial preparation do they need to make, assuming, they have no scholarship, funding it 100%? What's that figure for you? What would you advise?
Yeah, thank you so much. You already cut a little bit. I came in through scholarship, so I didn't come in through self fund. But if anybody is coming through self fund, the first point of contact, the first thing you need to do is actually to check RCC website to see what is the living amount, or what is the amount of money you must have if you are coming to Canada to study. And I think they updated it last year, late last year. It has gone up, and I believe if my memory serves me right, for an applicant, it is almost 20 or 21,000 Canadian dollars. So you can do that
Hmm.
conversion currency. That's one. You need what they call proof of fund. That's what they call POF, which is a proof of fund. You need that. If you are coming with your wife, you are coming with one child or two children, it progresses. So everything is on RCC website. The second thing, now that is going to cover your RCC, or they expect that that will cover your accommodation, right? From that
Hmm.
money, for your accommodation, depending $100 for a studio apartment, $100, 1,000, one. It depends on the province. There is no general figure. So that is where you are going to take your accommodation, which we call rent, where you are going to do your groceries, which is feeding, right? And do
Hmm.
other big things, change clothes, whatever those kind of expenses could be. So that is the biggest chunk that you need to be, first of all, aware of. The second one you need to be aware of is the school fees. Now, if even though you are self-funding, there are situations whereby you might be self-funding, but your tuition being paid for by the department, or the professor you are going to be working with is going to be the one that will be paying for your, or the faculty is the one that is going to pay for your tuition, or even an external organization going to be the one that will be paying for your tuition. You just take care of living expenses. So it depends, whatever it is. If you are the one now paying for school fees, that's a different story entirely. So this is different from the 21,000 living expenses that RCC is expecting you to have, right?
Hmm.
Let's say your school is 10,000 Canadian dollars per year, then you know that that is going to be what you add to the 21,000 plus ARRCC proof of fund. If it
Yeah.
is 20,000, yeah, if it is whatever the amount we is, different schools have different amounts. In some schools, you pay for a year, you are paying almost 25,000.
Hmm.
Why in schools you are just paying 10,000 or 15,000? So it depends. But these are the main things you need to be aware of. School fees, if you are self-funding entirely, school fees, which is tuition fee, your living expenses, and maybe just some petty money to buy, maybe change winter clothes, winter shoes, summer wear. Even though you don't have to be buying clothes or whatever all the time, you still need to, like we say in Nigeria, cut your coat according to your size, right? Is it your
Yeah.
cloth size? So If your cloth is 1 yard, then you cut it the way your body is. So that is the way we say it in Nigeria. In all, if you add everything together, then you are looking at, like I said, it depends on the school. You are looking at almost 40,000, 50,000 Canadian dollars, right? But the big question there is, are you expected to have, let's say your program is 2 years. Are you expected to have the whole tuition fee for the 2 years? The last I remember, no. Once you have your living expenses for 1 year, which is around 21,000 plus or so, then the tuition fee for the first year, right? You need to have that before you start coming at all. Before
Mhm.
RCC will grant you visa. Now the second year fee, you are expected to probably raise some. You can't raise everything by working.
Mhm.
So while you're working, you are working. And I believe, I don't know if the policy has changed, but I believe it's 20 hours per week, right? But
Mhm.
trust me, except your school fees is 5,000, $10,000. If it is like 15, $20,000, you cannot work to raise that money to pay your school fees. So you can pay in two ways, by
Mhm.
working, and maybe you are coming with some money already, you already have some money saved, or you have a business back home, or you have your parent or family member that can send you money to augment what you've been able to make while working, then those are some of the ways you can go about it.
That's a good summary of, again, like it depends, like you said, which school you're going to, but a rule of thumb is as much money as possible so that you're able to prove to IRCC, which is the immigration uh, uh, agent. So I will do another video just entirely dedicated to finances that one needs before they move. So be sure to check out this channel for that video. Afis, that's a really good summary, but it depends. I think that's the one of the most, that's barrier to entry. It's one of the most common ones. It's just about finances. So if you can put your finances in order, then everything will go well. The other thing you had mentioned slightly about, culture shock and mental health issues, isolation. I don't know if you experienced any of that and how you were able to deal with them.
Okay. So, to be honest, I actually experienced it. I'm someone that is very close to my dad. And a lot of people know that people close to me, they know that I'm very close to my dad and I love him so much.
Hmm.
So, he was one of the people that I missed a lot, right? Missed a lot. And I'm saying it. I missed a lot when I was actually studying, but I was able to cope with it. I did a couple of things. Don't forget I had mentioned that I that, right. So that was
Hmm.
already, and I already decided that whatever happened when I get to that time, I was going to be committed and face it. That kept me going. The second thing that kept me going was that I was living in a studio apartment, as you probably did as well.
Yeah.
And the studio apartment, we have something like what do you call it now? In the room is a bit long, right? And
Mm.
every morning I wake up before doing anything after my prayers, I make sure I run inside my room for like 100 laps, right? So I will run from the door to the window. I used to do that 100 laps. That gave me some increase in my what do you call it now? That adrenaline was able to make me ready for the day. The other thing I did was also um listening to some Islamic sermons, right?
Hmm.
Every morning I just to put myself in the mood of faith, so to say, of spiritual realm, if you can if you can put it that way.
Yeah.
That thing I did was always find means to speak with my dad and some of my family members back home, right? My siblings, just being on course sometimes. Then I used to also speak with my fiancée, who is now my wife.
Mm.
Then are the people that kept me going, kept me
Yeah.
connected. And the last thing I did, I had a very good, most of the scholars were my friends, but I had someone that I was really very close to, and we had an opportunity to live in the same building. And I'm talking about my friend Ebenezer. We used to check up on each other. Sometimes he will prepare food. I go to his room to eat. Sometimes I prepare. He will come to my room. So those are the kind of things I was able to do to cope with that loneliness and
Yeah.
missing of. Because missing of home for me, I don't know for any other person, is very real. So those
Mhm.
were some of the.
If you were to start over again, assume you're back in Nigeria and you want to move to Canada to study, which mistake did you do and how do you rectify that? How do you do it differently now?
Okay. I think one mistake I probably did, and maybe some of us did, was that when we got here, we didn't have enough information about PR application because many of us already had
Okay, so
huge
what's PR? What
permanent,
yeah.
permanent right. Yeah, thank you for that. Permanent residency. Many of us already we had that huge professional experiences that we are bringing from Africa,
Hmm.
right? From many of us had it that had not expired, right? Many of us had what it takes to actually be in the pool for PR. Not that in CEC, we will not apply as if we were in Canada. We will apply as if we were outside of Canada, right? Which
Yeah.
is also allowed because as PR part is divided into three, if I remember, largely. So I think that mistake I did, I think a couple of us did was that we would have actually had a PR while we were studying. Or maybe almost immediately that we finish our program. But the problem was that one, many of us were too focused on the study, led to we just want to get it this and done and do well.
Mm.
Two, it not really have the information, right? No probably past scholars that we connect with to actually give us their share their experiences like we are doing now. We didn't have people that we can actually talk to take us through their journey and how they did it, what they did wrong, and every so lack of information was something I in that particular on that particular issue I would say I actually regret a lot because I strongly believe that if we had that information and many of us had been in the pool, we probably have gotten it. In CRS, they were doing the using then were even much lower than what we now have currently, which has gone up, and many of us are now struggling to get it. Many of us were even younger, would have probably gotten it then, but that now that many of us are already getting old and the age is no longer on our side, and point is being taken away for as we age. So those are some of the mistakes I think I made.
Mhm. What's that one myth that you've heard about regarding studying in Canada?
Okay. I think this might sound general, but it's the reality. Most of us, when we are living different countries from Africa and you are going to the West, Canada, the UK, people always think it is El Dorado. In fact, some people believe that once you get there, you can pluck money on the tree and you can be sent it back home to them. But the reality is quite different.
Mm.
Related to that is people believe that there is job in Canada once you finish study, you are getting job automatically. I'm sure why this conversation has been going, you will have noticed that I mentioned that it took me 7 months before I was able to get a job. So it is not, it's like a myth, believing that once you get to Canada, as you are landing at the airport, they are giving you a job straight. You might be lucky, right? Like
Mm.
I said, to get the job of your dream or what you are looking for. But sometimes you might have to actually um, pivot, right?
Hmm.
There are
Yeah.
so many people in Canada here, so many medical doctors that are doing Uber. Right? That is not to belittle them, but that is just the reality of what we are facing. There are so many engineers that cannot work as engineers. There are so many teachers, people that are
Yeah.
trained to be teachers that cannot work in schools. Because in
Hmm.
different provinces in Canada, the license or certification to enter teaching profession is different.
Yeah.
So even I that I studied education related program that I should naturally be able to enter the classroom and be a teacher. I was trained in Montreal, right? I cannot
Hmm.
be a teacher even in Montreal until I put in for the teacher certification. Not to talk of even coming to Abata or going to BC to now say I want to become a teacher. So those realities are there. So you have to
Yeah.
prepare your mind that when you are coming to Canada, it is not all that rosy. That is not to say that or to discourage you not to come. Far from it. But it's just to prepare your mind for what you might potentially face when you move over here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, that's good. A lot of myths we've heard about that. It is good to just demystify them so that people are well informed about what they are getting into. Now, is there any other tips that you wish you knew before coming that we have not touched?
Yeah, so I think other thing I knew would probably be about language. I believe it was October 2020. COVID was already, I think, maybe very close to when COVID came out in China before it started spreading all over the world. I started learning French on Duolingo. And as God will have it, when I got my scholarship and study opportunity to study in Canada, it was in Montreal, a province where French is actually their number one language, right? Now, I kept on studying on Duolingo, but if I'd been told that I should actually pay more attention to it, maybe I would have even paid more attention to it. While I was in secondary school, which they call college, we used to make jokes of our French teacher then. In fact, we used to make joke of French. I would say French is a nonsense language you are teaching us, which our parents do not know. So why do you expect us to be able to speak it? Right? Hardly did we know that it's actually a very important skill and important language that you should also learn. Now, making it even more important, when you are applying for permanent residency now, there's actually what they call the French pathway, which has a very lower CRS score compared to the general one. I think the last score they did, the last CRS draw they did for French, the score
Mm-hmm.
was maybe less than 400. Whereas in the normal one, the last one they did was 511. So if you had that opportunity of learning that French, I would advise you to actually do it. Even if you don't live in a province where they speak French, it will
Yeah.
help you in your PR application.
Mm-hmm.
Professionally, it could also help you because you never know where you're going to get a job. You might get a job with an international organization or even a local organization where there's an opportunity to actually travel or go to a French speaking country. And when you know how to speak the language, you've already given yourself a huge advantage. So that's one important skill I will share. The last one
I'm planning to come to Canada as a student, probably this year, maybe next year. What would it be?
and build on your network. Make sure that you connect with a lot of people. One of my our friends will always joke with me when we are talking that I'm probably the only one, especially among the Nigerian cohort that came then, that was able to connect with everybody in the program, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you build your, and it has advantages. And one of the advantages, for instance, is Juma inviting me to this platform, and it's easy. You just need to tell me that we are doing it and we are doing it, right? So that is
Yeah.
network.
Yeah.
If I need something in future, which he has always been there, if I need something on anything, I can always reach out to him or anybody. So build on your network with any student or all the student as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing I'm going to share is I know it might be hard for some people to do, or it might be hard to navigate around. Don't leave everything back home and, turn your back on the home. Let me put it that way. Don't just, I'm leaving to Canada and I'm forgetting about this place totally, which is
Mm-hmm.
your home, right?
Yeah.
Some people might be coming on self-funding and you are trying to raise money to be able to fulfill those financial responsibilities in your cars, your house or whatever. Yeah, that is good, but still make sure that you still you leave some things back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Don't put all your eggs, let's put it out. Don't put all the eggs in one basket, right? If you have some investment back home that you believe that can nurture or can flourish even when you are not there, keep them and let them be going. Don't don't throw away everything and say I'm already leaving to Canada and everything back home is done. The
Mm.
third thing I'm going to share is even within now you build network within your network. You build that relation within your network, right? Which is good. Again, expand out for professional relationship sake. Make sure that you connect with people even outside of your domain, right? So that when you are looking for job, looking for some professional platforms, opportunity, you can always leverage on those people. Connect with your professors as a student, let them know what you're trying to do and let them know how or where you might need them. For instance, I applied for something recently. I had to reach out to one of my professors back in my school to be my referee, and he was willing to because we had that relationship, right?
Mm.
I have a professor that just contacted me some days and telling me that, oh, she's going to India. When she comes back, she wants us to talk and she sent her number to me. Build those kind of relationships. They are very, very important. So those are some of the advice I can give now, plus
Yeah.
most of the things that we've already mentioned.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you. So my key takeaway is never burn bridges, build relationships, maintain those relationships. You never know when you will need someone or they will need you, and vice versa. So that's really good. Thank you so much, Afis, for taking your time to talk to people who are trying to advance their lives, either to study or work in countries which are not theirs primarily. And I would challenge people to maybe comment below with one question that you wish you could ask someone who studied in Canada, and we will make sure that we get back to you either personally or through another video. And if this conversation was helpful, please subscribe and share. We just started, so hopefully we can help a few people. If you need personalized guidance, we are here for you. Afis will be able to connect with folks where his areas of expertise is, and myself as well. So if you need one-on-one study and work abroad strategy sessions, just get in touch with me and we will be able to chat. So thanks again, Hafiz, for sharing your journey, and to everyone watching. Your journey is possible too, so hopefully this helps.
Yeah, always my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thanks. All right. Bye.
Bye. Bye.